Okay, today I'm going to make the case for LSU repeating as the national champs, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about LSU. And before I do that, please download the podcast, The RJ Young Show, on Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, wherever the hell it is you get podcasts. I'm uploading there on Mondays and Thursdays. Some of it is what you've heard on the channel. Some of it is not. It's also a space for longer conversations, which I know some of you want. Some of you are just here for, well, whatever the timestamp looks like. So, LSU, Ed Orgeron, Eddie Robinson, National Coach of the Year. Best head coach in the state of Louisiana, quite honestly, since Eddie Robinson. And that was the same year in which, we lost Eddie Robinson and LSU won a national championship. I don't think those two things are, unrelated. I also want to add in there that Ed Orgeron has been recruiting his butt off since he took the job as the head man in charge for the Bayou Bengals, and they have been real good. He invested in Steve Ensminger. Ensminger went to him and said, hey, look, we probably should modernize the offense. We can only run Nick Brossette into the offensive line so many times before we figure out what we're going to do elsewhere to make all these skill position players worthwhile. To which he said, I like this kid, Joe Brady, down at the Saints. Remember the guy that was drawing up the stuff on the whiteboard when we went down there? Let's bring him in. Let's see what he can do. Let's give him a title. Let's call him passing game coordinator. He shows up, says, hey, y'all, we're going to catch thousands of footballs over the course of this entire calendar year. And if you do that, we're going to win a national championship. And lo and behold, Jamar Chase is not only Biletnikoff Award winner, but we're talking about Justin Jefferson, who was the least likely candidate to be a first-round draft pick of that wide receiving core that got reps, emerging over Oklahoma's dead body with over 200 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns, and 1.5 football. Add to that, Terrace Marshall is still probably underrated for some last year. He won't be this year. We all know who he is, especially with Justin Ross being out this year. But you also have some changes on the offensive line. Even as you lose Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's a big deal, right? That's a 1,200-yard rusher. That's over 50 balls caught. Now you get John Emery, who was wildly regarded and wildly recruited, along with Ty Davis-Price in the backfield and Chris Curry. Chris Curry probably ends up being the bell cow back. But it's all going to start with Myles Brennan. You cannot convince an LSU fan that Myles Brennan ain't the man. You can't do it. As much as I want to point to, yeah, okay, he could be good, this is also the dude that took a backseat to Joe Burrow in a year where Joe Burrow completed just 58% of his passes. And they were largely about playing great defense, not playing great offense. And then Joe Burrow has his ascension into that of godlike status, where he passes for over 5,000 yards with 60 touchdowns and 6 picks en route to a Heisman Trophy and the number 1 overall draft pick. Myles Brennan sat behind that dude, even as he was recruited ahead of that dude, and should have been the guy setting all those records in Mississippi. However, we've seen LSU be good with, mediocre to good quarterback play. Danny Etling is one of those. Ryan Perrilloux still might be the greatest quarterback that they didn't get anything out of at LSU. That includes Jamarcus Russell, who was pretty doggone good at LSU, then, turned to flame out at the NFL. Then on the defensive side of the ball, we're finding out that Ed Orgeron wants to invest in his coaches, not a scheme. I think that's interesting because when he went to go get Bo Pelini, he said, yeah, we're changing the defense to what Bo wants to run, which is 4-3. But it wasn't a rejection of what Dave Aranda was doing defensively because it worked. It was really him going, no, I need the guy. Then we'll talk about the scheme. But if I got the guy, the scheme will fall into place. And that was true with Dave Aranda, who said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw 3 defensive tackles across the front of the line, and I'm going to dare that offensive line to beat them up. And nobody could. Not really, right? We're talking about LSU's pass defense was suspect, not its rush defense. And when you have 300 across the line at nose and at end spots, yeah, you're going to be able to crush in 5 people with 3 people, and you're going to keep your linebackers clean, which means that Jacob Phillips and Patrick Queen could go eat, as could Caleb Von Chasen. And then we're talking about Jacoby Stevens in the back. Kerry Vincent's going to have his come up after Grant Delpit goes to the NFL, second-round draft pick, Paycom Jim Thorpe Award winner. But the reasons to believe in LSU are not Jamar Chase, right? And they're not Myles Brennan, and they're not Chris Curry. Certainly not the defensive line. It is Derek Stingley Jr. Derek Stingley Jr. is the coldest true freshman cornerback I'd ever seen in my life. And he could quite honestly be the Jim Thorpe Award winner in 2020. We'll see. It's hard. It's real hard. He's going to have a really great season, one of those that you can't ignore, but it's possible. Like if he comes off like Dre Bly, goes All-America with like 11 interceptions in one season of football, it's going to be real difficult because I don't see anybody else being able to do that at the Power 5 level. And then when you're talking about this, you're really talking about Ohio State, Alabama, LSU. Then you get suspect, right? Because we're also trying to project what the NFL is going to be. We're also going to take a look at what your background is like. Can't win this award if you're stupid. Don't be stupid, all right? Keep your head on straight. I'm being sincere about that. Please, don't give anybody any reason not to think well of you. But if you take a look at Shaun Wade, took a look at Dax Hill, you can also understand what kind of, energy you're going to be up against. Same thing with Patrick Surtain. But the other reason to believe in LSU is because this schedule kind of sets up for them, right? Alabama aside, you're all right. If you beat Texas, we're going to give you benefit of the doubt because this is going to be the most talented Texas team that Tom Herman's ever had, and I think the most talented Texas team that we've seen since 2009. That said, Texas is probably going to be favored in that game when they go to Baton Rouge to try to avenge the loss that they took in Austin last year. You're going to need to assert dominance. Establish dominance. Establish dominance. That's what you're going to have to do if you're the Bayou Bengals, right? You're going to have to turn Tiger Stadium into Death Valley Part Doe because the real Death Valley is out at Clemson. That ain't me. That's LSU's SID telling it to the newspapers in South Carolina. That's what it is. So turn Tiger Stadium into some version of Death Valley, make it swampy, make it humid, get some swamp crack going on, and show Texas what's really good as you continue to recruit your butt off. That's the other reason to believe in LSU because they don't return much in the way of returning production. Matter of fact, they're one of the worst in college football when we're talking about, returning production because LSU got more new faces than an integrated high school. But they're all talented faces, just like an integrated high school. So this could be some real T.C. Williams type stuff for them. Or they could be handed their head because they still play in the SEC West, but Texas A&M is going to take a dip because they got a show cause for their head coach. Auburn is I think they're going to have a QB derby because I don't expect Bo Nix to be the guy. I think Kalen Newton's going to end up being the guy, okay? They lost Jatavius Ubi Whitlow, to the portal. They are really going to have to do something other than just play outstanding defense as they left Derek Brown, though Big Cat Bryant does still end up being a first-round draft pick. And we're talking about Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, probably going to be decent. Mississippi State's going to run up the scoreboard. There are going to be obstacles, right? But if you can get through Texas, I think that you can get through everybody but Bama. Bama's going to be good. But if they were able to overcome Alabama, there's no reason to believe that they can't win the SEC championship game, even if it's Georgia or Florida that they're facing there at the end. One more reason to absolutely believe that LSU could get back to the national championship game and win it. Irrational confidence. There's no more irrational fan base right now working than LSU. They got good after losing to Troy, and then all of a sudden they feel great about what they're going to be. They also recruit like all get out. People forget this. TJ Finley was the dude that was at Elite 11, not Max Johnson. And if TJ Finley turns out to be a dude after Myles Brennan, sure. But if Myles Brennan goes down, that might be the end of the season. We'll see. I still don't think it's going to happen, but this is the case for it happening. All right, that's it for me. Doses.